Oh, okay.
Great. So the topic 101 is there because we'll be covering right from basics, so that if you are looking for a project where you want to set up a PWA, or you are under impression that PWAs would or not meet your requirements, then you can decide. And we'll also look upon some frameworks and how in natural world PWA comes into play. So let's start. So what makes your app a PWA? There are a couple of parameters which are being defined by industry, especially by Google, which will make your application a PWA. So your application needs to be discoverable. It applies to all of your content. So what idea behind is, if you are searching it via link, or you are searching it via Bing, Google, or any search engine, it should be found, so that Google can index that, or any search engine can index that, and it is readily available to your users. If you are working for a B2B business, this might not fit as well, but we have a couple of other points for that. Then it needs to be installable. So the installability comes with a price, but you have to bear that. And with the installability, you can spawn upon a lot of devices. You can go upon without any app launcher, and you will have your apps readily available to your users, because they will have it in their home screen. It will be just like another mobile app. Then it should be linkable. You can just share any page of this via link, and the feature will be available to your users. Like maybe if you are having something in your cart and you just want to check it in your desktop, you just share that link and you can access that. Then it should be network independent. So right now we are having a telecom war, where I am sure many of you agree, we are struggling for a good internet speed. But there, for our application, we want it to be independent of that network. It should work even in the poor network connection. Then finally, the keyword progressive. So progressive has been taken from the term progression, where it should be usable on the basic level of old browsers like IE or Opera Mini, etc. But on the fully functional should be on the latest ones. On any version of Chrome or Firefox or Safari, they should be fully progressive, fully functional. It should be responsive. Responsive, again, there are many school of thoughts for responsive and adaptive design, but it should work on all the mobile phones, tablets, maybe even for the embedded machines like TVs or refrigerators in future. It should be secure. Your connection between the app, your user, your server, all should be secured. If you don't have an HTTPS link, it won't be qualified as a PWA. It should be re-engageable. The re-engageable part comes when you put some notifications or messaging in your app, so that whenever the newer content or whenever a exciting offer for you is available, you get it right away. So you will all be thinking, what's new in this? It's our day in day out apps, means WhatsApp, Facebook, or any other shopping app. We have these features readily available, but those are available in mobile apps and not in the web world. If you are talking about web world, you have to give in something or trade off some parameters. So here's what we can look at. So if we go for mobile versus web versus PWA, here's a comparison. If you are looking for the capabilities, the native apps are having great capabilities. They can give you location, they can give you camera, and a lot of other exciting features. The payments like simple OTP, all things would work. But if you are on web apps, then your reach is again higher. The reach means you can simply share a lot of things, and these are readily available on variety of laptops or any office setups. But PWA comes to the middle ground, where you don't need the Play Store or App Store things, and you would still leverage the location or any other native features. So it's kind of best of both worlds. So there are in market we have a couple of simple examples of a PWA, like Starbucks. Their main website is hosted with the PWA, housing.com, Z5, Pinterest, and OLX. Z5, I have personal experience. Their PWA is quite good. The service workers, the how it comes into play, or how they engage their users via PWA is quite similar to their mobile experience. If you have a PWA and right aside you have a mobile app in your phone, you cannot spot the difference. That's what the end goal of PWA would be. The user won't spot a difference between a mobile app or a PWA. So now we are jumping upon some features. So any questions so far? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So for a PWA, now we'll touch upon several topics, small to small, where we will write a PWA on our own. So first thing that we'll need is installability. For the installable part, the JSON file, you will actually need a JSON file which can tell about your application. So usually it's a web manifest. You can go upon and find that web manifest anywhere. Yeah. So I'll quickly stop share and again share with you the this web app manifest generator. You all with me?
Yes, yes, Ankit.
Yeah. I hope the code would be visible to you.
Yes.
So right now we don't have anything but an application. So we'll see what would be required for a simple manifest. We'll open this link. So it is asking us a couple of things like what's your app name? So we can have any app name, maybe TV shows, then a short name. Then it is asking for a theme color. This may be a UX design which you want to take from your for your application, or any fancy color would you that you can choose. Then there are a couple of display modes in this. Here you can go upon on the browser or a standalone app, a minimal UI where you would still have the tab bar or a UL bar, or a fully functional screen. You can decide upon the orientation. If you want both of them, then you can stick to that, or you can restrict the users to one orientation. Then defining the scope of your application, where the PWA would be applicable. So in banking domains, mostly the our business partners, they ask us, they only want PWA for a certain section of their application and not the whole application. This scope will come into play. You can upload any icons here and it would generate then a zip for you. You can choose any icon and then it will simply generate a manifest for you, and that manifest can be uploaded. So maybe right now it's not working. We can have a look how it looks after it's downloaded. Can you all see the manifest?
Yes, Ankit.
Right. So all the parameters that we filled there, they would be available here. A name, a short name, the theme colors that we gave, a display or orientation property, and the scope. Then for the icons, whatever images we uploaded, it will create all the standard sizes which will be required for different devices, for different browsers. If we go for the standard devices, there is a couple of lists. We can means we there is no need to go through all of them, but there are standard sizes which are like this one is for the app store. If in the app store, this is standard app store size, or otherwise 144 cross 14 is where a MacBook rely. This size it will render in your browser, and so on. Then same goes for the splash pages. This property is quite new. However, it can also work same, like you can set up the images of the splash pages here. Splash page is again where uh, when the app is loading, you can just show a nice title or a nice logo. Even now, in nowadays, companies have started showing a GIF there where they can engage their users, or a slowly unfolding things. So this is the first step, that you will need a manifest. So right now, if we run this app, let's see what extra it needs to make it a PWA. So we can host it via live server. You can choose any other way. Maybe if you have Webpack, then it will work out of the box. You don't need server in that case. So this is our normal application. So right now we'll ignore the rest part. We'll focus on what we have seen, like manifest. So this is our manifest. If you open this, we are having it land here, and it can also translate those things, like all the color and all the icons. Any questions so far? Okay. Yes. Let's come back to the slides. So for a PWA, you will basically need a service worker. Now we'll unfold what a service worker actually is. So you can imagine it as a script which will run in the background, and it doesn't have to do anything with your DOM. In fact, you cannot access the DOM features via service worker. You have to be pretty hacky, or you have to play via some APIs to get into the DOM. And it opened the door for you to a lot of exciting features: background fetch, background sync, payments, and lot more. So it serves as a proxy between your application, your browser, and your network. So let's see how JavaScript and this service worker JavaScript would differ. JavaScript is usually single threaded, means if you are having a couple of JS pages, it would give them turn by turn. It would maintain a queue, it would process those functions one by one, and it is pretty fast for a browser, because browser is anyway multi-threaded for a single threaded JavaScript worker. But then we have a service worker thread, which would be unique for your scope, for your domain. So what it would mean? If you have, say, you are in a browser and you have opened 5 simultaneous tabs, then all the features that you are seeing on those 5 tabs, if those are identical, then the JavaScript for them is different. You can individually create from one page, delete from one page, read from other page, and so on. But if you are working with a service worker, those all share the same service worker. You can send the push notifications to all of them at once, and they will like pop up. So I feel many of you have seen our Gmail app has already integrated the chat now, and we got this multiple notifications thing. So in mobile too, this happens. It's not exactly the service worker, but again the background service which is being registered, and that's why it's giving multiple notifications. Okay, so now we are coming for the life cycle of a service worker. It would be important if we understand this one, then we'll know how to configure a service worker according to our business need. So for the first step in that is a registering a service worker. So whenever we register a service worker, it goes to installing state. Now this installing state doesn't hold there. It slightly waits and then it activate, or it can go in an error phase if it's not able to install the service worker in your browser. After activating, if you have not assigned it any task, say you don't have any client for this one to claim, you don't have linked the features to this, so it will go idle. It won't be doing any work. Whenever a new message comes, suppose a push from your server, you have pushed a notification, the service worker will become active again, and it will fetch that message and again goes to idle. So it's again a same notification feature that you see in your mobile. Or otherwise it can go terminated if you kill the notification or you kill the app in that sense. So that's a simple life cycle of a service worker. So far so good. A little nodding would help, so I'll hope the section can be interactive.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, Ankit.
Great. Yes. So we have already added the manifest. Now let's take a look at state transitions in a service worker. So earlier when I said it goes from installed to activated, that is not completely true. We'll see how. So whenever you have a first service worker in your browser, What it would do, it will install, and there is a little small circle there, means it is going through a phase and then it is becoming active. And only while active it can access your application, means it can either get the messages for you or send the messages for you when it is active. But what about this middle state? We'll come to this one. So if you want that as soon as my service worker becomes active, you want to control the page, so then you can use this feature. You can add an event listener to this, which is claiming your clients. So this client is the URL that we are talking about. If you want to claim the whole website, you can just put the different URLs that you have, like /scope. If you want a particular feature like /payments, then you can register it on the scope of /payments and claim that client. That scope will be defined in the registration part of the service worker. But there is a different story when we come to the updates of a service worker. That means this is a scenario where you already have your website hosted and a service worker is working there. But then you have a new business requirement, or you want to release a new feature, which again is having, say, now we have background sync in picture. Now the service worker will again have some updates. There, it has to be go through via a waiting phase. Now this waiting phase becomes super important because it cannot go right away active. It has to be hold there for some period of time. And for some browsers which have not quite yet adapted the service worker feature, this waiting phase, you have to manually trigger it to make it active. So we'll see how via code we can programmatically convert this service worker to an active one, or we can wait for this active service worker to do its work, so that whenever that payment is done or when the feature is done, we'll then move this one from waiting to active. So this would actually mean you have two service workers at a time in your browser, one in the waiting phase and other in the active phase. So this is the code that we can use. Skip waiting. While installing, you can ask for skip waiting, and what it will do, it will immediately become active. But this call has to be very well discussed with your client, that whatever initial work we will be doing with this service worker will be cut short and the new service worker will become active. Then we have another state hooks for this. So this is update found and state change. Sometimes this is not suffice for our application. Means we either don't want to completely ignore the new service worker, or we also want to rely on our previous service worker. Then we can use these hooks, update found or a state change. So both of these have their own significance. As the name states, the state change event will be called when a new service worker will change from one state to another. So we'll see a little bit of how it can be done. Whenever you register your service worker, then you get this reg.installing or active or waiting. And it will define whether the worker is waiting or is it installing or it's being active. There you can grab it and perform any action that you'd like. Or there is an event listener of update found. There you can get control of the new service worker and hold it there until you are finished up with your work. You can track it, all of its states, whether it is being installed, it is installing or being successfully installed, activating or being completely activated, or it is discarded service worker. That means this would be there when you don't want the new service worker. And finally, in this, you get this event listener state change, where you can again handle that state. So getting the idea there, or any doubts? Okay, yeah. If you have any questions, you can feel free to interrupt me and ask.
Sure.
Okay, then we have this last method, which is controller change. So there is a difference between the state change and the controller change. Now the controller change will give you the idea how you can claim your client. So here's the part when lately we saw clients.claim. Now this one will help you if you what changes you want in your client. If you want that the new service worker would be active in a separate scope or in the same scope, this can help you with that. You can change your service worker controller right away. This one will always point to the new active service worker, means whichever one is active. If the old one is active, it will point to the old one, otherwise to the new one. Yeah. From this, we'll go to now the demo where we have the basic installability done, and maybe we'll see the basic service worker as well, where we have client's claim and as well as the skip waiting for a service worker. Okay, before that, maybe we can see how the application is being right now. Yeah. So you'll see a couple of things in development. You may face some of the issues. So anytime you face those, you can clear your site data, get the service worker out of scope, and start things again. So this API, it's a public API for TV Maze where you can access any TV shows which are going on. So I'd like a quick suggestion from any one of you, any TV show that you'd like. Anyone?
Game of Thrones.
It's a pretty popular one. Yeah. Ice and Fire and the Throne. Great. So now what we'll do, we'll open this network tab and again observe the call carefully. Another series name, please? Anyone that you are watching right now or planning to watch?
Dark.
Sorry?
Dark.
Mark?
Dark.
Dark.
Yeah. The dark appears here. Okay, so let's observe now the network tab. So right now what it says, it is getting hitting some URL with the request method get and giving you some status code. So now we'll do one thing, we'll go offline. I'm not switching off my Wi-Fi, directly just going offline from network tab. So now we'll access dark again. Oh, it gives the error. So here the application would be broken. So the users will say it is not working offline. And maybe some of the business requirements would work with that, but some can be enhanced where you can introduce the offline feature. So here what we could do, because we have already searched dark, why won't we serve this dark again? It could be cached. This data is hardly going to change. If it's you can say IMDb rating or the new episode has released, only then you have to change the data. But the rest of series description, its photograph, its title, they can be same. So you can cache that data for time being and serve this while the user is having bad network. Let's see how we can solve that with PWA. So you have to bear with me if the application crashes in between, because we are just migrating it from a couple of Git commits. I think we need to start.
Do you need to make it online?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so now this robot icon has appeared. We'll discuss this guy shortly. But we also have a new thing here, which is service worker. So we'll go through this file via code, and then we'll see what we can do with this. Yeah. So the application is in plain JavaScript, even not the jQuery, not Angular, not anything. It's in exact vanilla JavaScript. Then we have a couple of files like a script and a service worker. So we'll go via service worker file first. Here we define a version for our service worker. So the earlier step where I was showing the manifest, that was version 1. But now I think that we have changed a lot of things in this one. So we have upgraded it to version 2. And you can also maintain those versions along in the cache as well. Here we are having the install event that we talked about. It will log whenever you are installing that service worker, and then we are opening a cache. We'll go on with the theory of cache later on. We can see how the demo is working. We are opening a TV shows cache here and adding the files, these predefined files in the cache. That is our index file, the script, style, and the manifest. And then what we are registering, that please skip the waiting part of the service worker. We directly want it to be installed. After that, we are getting control of the activate event. There we are again checking that which version has been activated and then claiming all the clients. That means you want to control the page now. So this is the part that we have already discussed via slides. This one is new. So why this is required? So if you go by the terminology how JavaScript works, so the fetch event can help you in get, post, or anything. This fetch has been now overridden with lot of flavors. Here what we are doing, we are intercepting the fetch whenever a backend call is initiated, and we are intercepting it in the cache. We are matching it with the cache first. If it's present in cache, go on, serve it from the cache. But if it's not present in cache, then go on and make the network call. As simple as that. And while we are again getting the response, we are caching it again. So you can maybe give attention to this one. I'll ask a question when we discuss the cache strategies in PWA, that which cache method is this one. So we are first opening a cache, serving it from cache. If it's not present, we are making a server call. If when it's returned from server, we are again cloning the response and putting it in the cache and serving the response. So far, good? Or you need any clarification? Okay. Okay. We can observe the changes once again in this. This is the new service worker that has been loaded. So it says clearing the old service worker registration. So this is a cleanup task. If we have V1, it will be automatically unregistered. Then we are installing this one, activating this one. These two phases has been done. And now we'll do that activity again. So first we'll search for a new series. So any new series for me? Anyone?
Big Bang Theory.
Okay. Sheldon. Okay, yeah, Big Bang Theory is here. So again, if we go on and see this one, so how Big Bang Theory this time go? So it says this robot icon is that service worker has intercepted this one, and service worker has got you this response. So now we have this response, and let's observe the cache. So I accidentally hit the Game of Thrones Dark as well. So now it has cached both Big Bang Theory and Game of Thrones Dark. But as you can see, it has not yet cached Dark and Game of Thrones. So what will happen if I go offline now? It's obvious, but if anyone can tell. Anyone would like to try? What would happen if now I again search for Big Bang Theory?
It will still give the result.
Right. Because it will be served from cache. So we can search it. So the result is there. And if we go for network, here it is. And now what it says, it's being served from the service worker. It clearly indicates that it hasn't hit your API yet, but it's serving it from the service worker, and it's returning the data from cache. And what if we go for Dark or Game of Thrones? Looks like they are not in this. So it gives the error that it's failed. And we have already displayed your offline tag. So the user might get a hint, or you can again do it gracefully. And if you don't get the response, you show the label again. Oh, you are offline, like that. So this is the basic offline feature that you can come up with. You can go on and delete something from this cache, like let's delete this Big Bang Theory, this entry. And let's see now what would happen. So now this one would again give error as well. Big Bang Theory is not found. Are you connected? So far good?
Yes.
Okay, people were actually telling some series. I'm sorry, I'll use them now. Great, thank you. Okay, back to the slides. And now we have two more interesting features in this. One would be background sync and other would be IndexedDB. So back to the slides. So we have seen the cache, how it's working. So it's a storage mechanism for your request and response. You can, so this is the way which I was talking about. It's not actually a hack. It's a standard way of doing this. It is being exposed to both your window and your service worker. So this is how you can at least access the window, and the service worker can put the data in this cache. These are shared by the same origin. However, if you are tweaking the origin part of the scope part of the service worker, you have to be careful with the caches, because you might have two separate caches on different URLs. You can access this object via window.caches, and it would have some nice methods for you like open or keys, or you can also have a CRUD on these caches as well. Okay, so how we performed this one? So we cached our application files. We installed a service worker, fetched the data from network, put it in cache, then we went offline. Now, if the service worker is already loaded, great. You can load it again when you are going to your application and serve the data from cache, and the data would be readily available. You don't have to be connected to network to see the same data again. So this was when you already have some data, when you are fetching some data. But what about when you want to save some data? Because in daily life, in normal apps, we have create operations as well, or update operations as well. What should we do there? So let's see. So we have done this one, adding the offline capability with the caching. Yes, we can see this one quickly. So Apple Touch icons, and we can look upon the installable thing as well. So if you all, you can all see the browser now.
Yes.
Yes.
So here a little plus icon is there. So this came up when we attached the fetch event, and it will show you a label here that whether if your PWA is not working, it will give you a reason here. And the reason would be as simple like it doesn't load the manifest, you don't have the service worker, you don't have installability. So it will tell you the reason here. Otherwise, it will simply render the manifest. And if you're not getting this plus icon, you might want to go back to your fetch event. Maybe you are missing that, or you are missing a part of offline. If we go click on this plus, it will install, and right now it's opening as a part of PWA. So this is the normal web implementation of PWA, where you get a separate window. So if you are a normal user and not a developer, means today normal users also know the F12 thing. So they will have a look and feel of again only an app and not the actual implementation behind it. I'm not sure what the URL was. We can open it in. Okay, great. So we can, we have done the installable part like from plus, and we were going to see the touch icons. So the icons that we have seen so far, these will not give you an icon right away for your installable thing like this one, the icon here or here. For this, you have to do a more work if you want to keep it working in all the devices, especially iOS devices, Apple phones. So for that, you have to go via some step. So let's see what that is. So in your index HTML, you have to put Apple Touch icons. So this is the way how Safari supports it and how iOS mobile support it. You have to you can mention these standard sizes in that. You can relate those same images which are in manifest, but they won't work directly from manifest. You have to get the Apple Touch icon tag here to get it working. After this, if you run it in an iOS device or in Safari, it would yield your icon. Right now we are working on Chrome, that's why the manifest worked. So far with me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to slides and we can go on with the background sync. So we have, okay, couple of more things. So fetch strategies. So these are the caching strategies that I was talking about. So this is where if anyone of you want to give the answer of the methods that we were using there in the code, you can give that after we are finished up with the cache and fetch strategies. So first is cache only, where you don't have any network. You only want to serve the response from cache. So in practical, you would have this one for only the assets which won't change at all in your application, like a background which you want to state as is. It won't have any more use cases where you want to rely upon only cache and you don't want to rely on network at all. Then we have only network. So this strategy comes into play when your business requirement is like you only want to show the updated data. You don't want to mess up with the cache. You don't want to rely on the old data. So this strategy will help you there. In general, it's quite opposite to cache. So you have only network. Then there is network first. So network first strategy is it would first get the data from network. If network is great, then it would put that in cache. If succeeds, cache that response and return your response. But if network fails, it will fall back to cache. So it's also termed as fallback cache method or network first method. Then we have cache first, which is just opposite to the network first, means you will first serve from the cache. If not present in cache, then you will go back to the fall back to the network. After that, we have cache and update method. Now in this method, if it's present in the cache, then you can return the response. If not, you can make the fetch request, and there is this special keyword clone that response. You don't want to serve that response right away. You can clone that response, store that updated response in cache for the future request. So this method would be used where you already know that your data would have been updated in server, and then you can go for the update one. Then we have cache, update, and refresh, or it also goes by another name in frameworks, which is stale while revalidate. So what this method does, it will still serve the cache, but on the other hand, it will also check the network. If the updated content in the network is available, it would serve that. So it will revalidate that data and put it in the cache for the future uses, so that next time when you hit that same URL, you will get the updated content. It is also a perpetual thing where you are proactive with the response. You know, this time it's cloned, this time this is a cached response, but from next time it will be refreshed one. And finally, we have the embedded HTML. So this is actually a fallback for everything where you just want to show a robot icon or a plain dragon or anything, a cute dog, where you want to say the application has broken. Please bear with me for 5 to 10 more seconds. Maybe your network will come up again. Okay.
Can you clarify the difference between cache first and cache and update?
Yes. So the cache first says it will first check in cache. It will, if not present, it will make the fetch request and get the response. But the cache and update is specifically asking for cloning that response as well. And you can tweak that clone thing and use it in your application. That's the only difference.
So what's the difference in cloning and caching? Means while caching, we are cloning. So how does it make it a difference? I'm not really clear.
Okay, so what can happen? You can imagine any sales figures or any frequently changing data where caching only makes sense if you are just for a fraction of a second you are offline. In that case, you just want to clone that response and will make a server call again. And the cache and update strategy would work if you make a server call again behind the scenes and again get the response. Now compare that cloned response with your response and then serve it. So that's the context of cloning the response. So you will compare that with some newer updated response. Is that clear?
Somewhat, yeah. Thanks.
Okay, I'll try to put it in chat maybe after some time. And there, okay. So now if anyone would like to go what method we used there, I can open the code for you people. So here, which cache
That
is,
was cache and update.
okay. Are we going only via clone? That's why.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, that give it away. Yes, this one is cache and update. Although this can be even the demo code can be refactored to work with the cache update and refresh. And what we would do, we'll not only clone the response, but we'll also clone the request so that it would have same parameters. And we will have a retry here. Maybe not exactly a retry, but to refetch again until we get the changed response. You will try 2 or 3 more times and compare those responses. So as soon as the new response comes, you just serve the newer response to your user. So that would replace cache update and refresh. Okay. So now we have architecture patterns of PWA. This would come into play if you are going for any sales pitch or you are looking for some advanced exploration in PWA. But this won't take much time. These are mostly theory. So it has to take away the key takeaway would in this would be the rendering part, how you are rendering your application. So I hope if people are familiar with these terms, server side rendering, client side rendering, and both with or without cache. Do we have people who have familiarity with these terms or unfamiliarity?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. I feel many of don't have, so I'll just try to explain how it works. So server-side rendering is actually an old thing which has been modified nowadays, like a spawn up or a changed behavior of the same pattern. So if we have worked with the ASPX technologies or where the server was everything before the Angular or this new jQuery world came up, we relied on server for everything. Even the UI was in server. So there the server side rendering happened. But nowadays we serve via server so that we can get the data pretty fast or pretty computed. In server, usually the server will return you a home page and then you can come on your client, you can handle the JavaScript part there and beautify the content. So you're basically abstracting it from what the responsibility can be leveraged to the server. But for the updates, the page updates would happen in the network mode, means network only mode. So if we discussed cache strategies here, so this one is network only mode, where it only makes sense if you have network up, because server side would work only with the working network. On the other side, if you are relying on the client side rendering, where you are leveraging the client style first, there your server can only return you a template page, a very basic page. Then JavaScript will have its own routing, all the work, all the routing, and like this SPA world, single page application thing, this will come into play. And the page updates, these can happen as per your choice. You can reload the data, you can have dynamic content if your application criteria is that. And here you can use both network first and cache first criteria. Like you want to fetch the data from server and revalidate, you can do that. Then cache with SSR comes into play. So here what we do, the assets which don't change so often, we cache them. But for the client, you cache only the like if you know the CSS or JavaScript files won't change, the common images won't change, you cache only that part. Rest part will be dynamic. And this is the mode where the cache on update, cache update, refresh, and this stale while revalidate would actually be helpful for us, where we are using cache SSR. Means we want to leverage cache as well, but we also want to give a preference to server, where server can have a say, yes, this is the updated data. So far with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then finally, we have a last method, caching the CSR. Now this is the one which via which the a lot of companies are now gaining lot of familiarity. Like you get those online features that like you are updating your card and then it is available across all your devices. So that's a mismatch of SSR and CSR. You show the offline tags in your server actions. If you're doing a create or update, you show an offline tag there. Yes, your data is safe. You just do your action. We'll sync it when we have time or whenever you get your internet connectivity back. You cache your data with the cache API, with IndexedDB, or any web storage that you want to leverage. And this is where you detect when your app is offline, when you can sync the things to background. And here you can replay things via cache. This one we can of course talk how it's cache first mode. It can be any other of those as well, but considering we are giving the chance to cache to perform here, that's why it's cache first. Okay. Yeah, so let's start with the IndexedDB and the background sync part. Trust me, the background sync is my favorite part. This is where I got to know how I get my notification every time I just touch my phone. And this is looks magic to me sometimes, how Google knows I'm going to touch my phone and then it gives me notification. So the background sync is the thing which is, or background fetch is the thing which is playing behind the scenes. Okay. So IndexedDB, this is a normal front end type of database where you get the key value object store database in the browser. So if you talk about the site domain or subdomain, like same goes for scope. So IndexedDB will be unique to an origin. If you can have multiple IndexedDBs across like /index and /users, but you won't do that usually. You have IndexedDB for your whole application. It can store the unstructured as well as structured data for your files, blobs, anything. It's as simple having a database, which is having an object store, and that object store again will be storing the key values. And in simple world, an object. You can go on and look upon this documentation on the Mozilla docs. In this demo, we'll rely on the promise-based APIs of IndexedDB. So I'll quickly go through what Promise World is and what we can leverage from this package. So Jake has given us a lot of packages in PWA. He's actually a Google developer right now working in lawsuit area. And this package is actually very nice if you want to get rid of callbacks in the IndexedDB. Here we are having a simple OpenDB method. You give it a name like say a key value store or any name like relevant to your application like payment module. Then you upgrade the DB whenever you want to refresh everything on the fly. Create a new object store, a key value. Sorry. Then you can access these methods on the fly. Get, set, and delete means a simple CRUD. You can create a value, get a value. So set would work for update as well. If the key is present, it would update that. And if it's not, it will create that. So it is upsert. And then delete. So if a common thing that you observe in all this is we are awaiting a promise. So why we are doing that? So in case your DB is not opened, we are waiting it to be opened. And only then you are calling that get method again. So it's like a recursion happening here. So far with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Then we have, so this is the idea about IndexedDB. We'll see how IndexedDB can help you in achieving the higher order things like background sync or background fetch. So in the demo, we have background sync. Okay. So what the problem is actually in the world? That's the favorite quote that I usually ask myself whenever I start work or anything. So this is actually the problem with internet world, the loading thing, the slow thing, and a lot of errors. So if you are a developer, you know why those errors are coming, or maybe even not then. But if you're a user, it would be frustrating if this icon comes pretty much all the time, or a white screen all the time. So internet is actually a great place where you can waste your time. You can waste a lot of time on this, but it is also getting us to know very important things, like when you saw a YouTube video where a flower is kept in front of the cat and it's like running away, or you saw some chameleons which are kind of a squirrel and they love bubbles, and the JCB, the Instagram ad, it's pretty much quite in my mind. So it's helping everyone kind of. But sometimes the stress is on sometimes word. We are actually not looking to waste the time. We are actually there on internet to get some great experience, a user experience where we want the phone out of pocket. We want to get some goal done, means you want to order something, or you want to actually check your salary. You just want to check the mail or anything meaningful, any meaningful goal, and you put the phone back in the pocket and resume your daily life and get out of the internet world. But this experience is almost all the time, thanks to the 4G, 5G, 3G, whatever we are having, this has been broken with the poor connectivity. And I think if you people can give a like or a nod if you are been there or being there all the time, you can let me know via chat. So this is where background sync can help you. Background sync can save us all for this bad internet connectivity, or where you want the offline rich experiences. So background sync is a web API which can help you in deferring the actions until the user will have that connectivity, the stable connectivity. And it will ensure if a user wanted to send a message, it's actually sent. Means it will give you that confidence that yes, you can rely on me. I'll send this. It's like a mail, a post. When you go to a post office, you rely on the post office that yes, your mail will be delivered at some point of time. Even they give you an acknowledgement. Yes, you can track this. Same goes for background sync. So you open your application, you can go offline. You can either use the airplane mode, or you can just think about like my ISP is doing great, means the network is really great, and then it will just break all your hopes. Then you can take the update action or save action and go back to your home screen. Whenever you are back online, your action would be completed. You can give a notification like, yeah, your order is done. This feature is again very popular in the industry. Facebook does it all the time for profile uploads, for anything. Exciting, this one? Anyone looking forward to this topic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So background sync would be possible again with a service worker. Do you have an application? You save your data in IndexedDB. You register your sync with the service worker, and then you let it go offline. Or if the application want to go offline, then on sync, what it would happen? It would make your call. It would save your data to the server. So this is the actual architecture that is being followed in background sync. So this part you don't you are good to go. It can happen right away, but in case the internet connectivity is not there, it would be hold here. You will get an acknowledgement, yes, it is being done, but it will be done after some time. So let's see a quick demo for this one. After that, we only have one topic left, that is working with the frameworks. Okay, you people can see the screen, the browser.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll quickly clear the storage again. So we have again that service worker installed, but now let's see what else we have in our application. So here we see we have an index DB with us created. So this is a TV shows index where we have a couple of things like favorites thing. So you have also noticed this show favorites icon here. So if I go on search those series again, like Homeland, so I can mark it favorite. Right now I have not completed the feature set for it, like it won't show you that it is favorite, but via show favorites you can check that yes, this feature is a favorite one, this series is a favorite one. And we can observe that how we can ensure that the favorite series is being captured in the DB. So for this demo, I'm using Cloud's Firestore. So you can quickly create for your demo purpose or anything. It's hosted on Firebase and it's pretty easy to use. Again, a key value pair. It's very, very similar to MongoDB. You can have a collection here and add a document here manually, but we'll see how our code will put the series ID here, ID or whatever identifier we are relying on. So I'll let you know why we have 2 or 3 database, 3 different DBs here. And we'll also work on this background sync part. We'll record this one and see what events it's being capturing. Yeah, it's recording the activity. So now what we'll do, we are right now online, means from the network tab, we are online. From here as well, from the service worker front, we are online. So what we'll do, we'll mark this one favorite, the Homeland. So it's asking, yes, marking it favorite. Now we'll observe the network tab. So it hit the API of the Firestore and it has saved that in the DB, this one. We have just added this one. ID 7, name Homeland. Now we'll observe what has happened in our application. In the saved favorites, if I just refresh it, you will see it has cached a document ID, a name and an ID. This document ID is the ID from the database, that is the Cloud Firestore. This is the ID that was already with us from TV Maze API and the name. And then we have this favorites again. Let's see what's the purpose of this one. It's empty. It should have some data. So let's see how we can, what's the purpose of this one and how we'll get data in this one. Any guesses how the data would come in the favorites one and not in the saved favorites one? Means what's the purpose of this favorites? Anyone? Okay. So this favorite is serving the purpose of a temporary favorite one. So where you can tag the, before background sync is initiated or before your network call is there, it will store those favorites And when the network is again back, the service worker would ask that registered background sync to get the favorites from this temporary one and save them in the saved ones. So it will just fetch those, post to DB, and after getting an acknowledgement, it will save in the saved favorites. So now this time what we'll do, we'll observe this recording as well, the background sync. So this has happened this time. We'll again observe it. So for this, we have to go offline. But first we'll search another series which we can mark. So I saw arrow in the chat. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just mark it favorite, but before that we'll go offline. We are recording this and we'll see how the background sync is being happened here. And we'll also observe these DBs. So in favorites, we are marking it. So it says data may be stale. That means it has updated. So now this temporary favorites has been updated. Now we'll check saved favorites, but in saved favorites, it's not there. Means it has not been saved into the database, into your application database. Now we'll observe the log as well. It says sync registered. That means the background sync has been registered. Now what should happen if I just resume it from offline to online? Now any guesses? If we just move it from offline to online. Okay, so we'll observe this background sync recording. Here that action would appear. So it has only registered the sync. This is the one I was talking about. This is the acknowledgement that it has given to you that yes, this work will be completed at later point of time. And how it will be completed, you will just go again online and see. Just now your request has gone to the database. And if now you check, it says dispatched your event and the sync has completed. Anyone, any comments or anything? Have you all got the idea that how background sync is working? We can see it maybe one more time for another series. So we'll again go offline. Now we'll mark it favorite. It has registered the sync. That means it has given you the acknowledgement that yes, it will happen. Now, if you go on and check your favorites, it has friends, which is temporary one. And in the saved favorites, you don't have friends yet. Now you go on and back. Before I do that, I'll just quickly do this. Yes. So now it has again, the call has gone again. If we check the background sync, yeah, now it has dispatched the sync event as well as the sync has been completed. Okay, folks. So ring any bells? So where you can use these features in your business use cases or in any app you are working on. So you can have your features work with this. You can rely on filling a long form. So you can imagine a business scenario where you have a couple of steps. You can say you have a multi-step form where you are filling those one by one, and then, oh God, the internet has gone. Now what would happen? You have to fill that again while submitting. So you can save that in the temporary index DB. You can sync it whenever the internet is back on. And you can rely upon the user will actually admire for this little gesture, yet that yes, we are being acknowledged that yes, it will be done. And after that, whenever your internet connectivity is back, it would actually be done. It's same as how chat applications work actually. Okay, so now we are on the framework side of things. So Workbox is actually quite popular in this area for implementing a PWA. Workbox is also an implementation which is owned by Google now. So it's flexible, well-defined PWA library, which wraps all this boilerplate code that you have in a service worker. And out of the box, you have all the features like caching, runtime caching, request routing, and these many features. If you want to have IndexedDB, background sync, or lot of cache strategies, any architecture being implemented, you can rely on this library. Workbox is actually a way where in modern frameworks, in Angular, Amber, React, or in Next, you can implement it in that way, rather than to rely upon a pure your homemade service worker. So far with me, any doubts or any questions?
No.
Okay, folks. Yeah. So now we'll quickly see how you can get two flavors of Workbox. So we have two examples, one with React and another with Next. Here we'll again rely how you can configure the Workbox in a way to get your application the PWA. So with Webpack, you can easily configure it with the Workbox Webpack plugin. So here's a one flavor, which is injecting your manifest. This is a case where you have a service worker with you and you want to do pretty exciting things where the this boilerplate code is not helping you much. You want to do some pretty custom code. There it gives you that hook where you can plug in your code in this service sw.js and you can inject your manifest. However, if you know that, no, I want the standard way of things, how the things are usually implemented, then you can have the plugin way, means you can ask it to go on and generate a service worker for me, and I'll rely upon whatever service worker you are generating. So it will have some defaults. You can override those defaults, but in the end, the responsibility of generating that service worker would be with the plugin. So we'll quickly see the one flavor of this, which is with Next. So here we are using a package which is Next offline, and we'll configure it with some options and then pass it in the plugin. So I have a quick code for you folks for this. You all can see the configuration.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are using a npm package which is with offline. So Next offline. So it is built upon the Workbox Webpack plugin. So it internally uses that same plugin, but it's compatible with Next.js. So here we are asking it that we don't need the service worker. We will configure the service worker ourselves. We are asking it to get the service worker from the root folder and copy it to the static serving. This is how the Next world actually works. You get a static packages thing. You can paste any of the files there. And in their experimental way, you can also get it working in the dev mode. So via this, it would only work in the production mode if you are having a production build. If you want to work it in the dev mode as well, like with your dev server, then you have to do something like this, like from a source to next.static service worker. It means next/static, then a service worker. So it will generate your own manifest, whatever code that you have written in this service worker file. So in my case, I have it's the same, actually the same code that we just discussed for the favorites, but it's done in the Next.js. So it's for some other session for the Next.js. If we have an event, you can do any work of related to PWA here inside the service worker. Cool.
Yep.
Okay. So we have another flavor of this, which is the getting the manifest, getting the service worker generated. So for that, we have another configuration. So for this one, what you can say, I want to generate a service worker, and there you can configure these options like skip waiting, claiming your clients. So all these are now configurations. You don't have to code them. Then you can specify your caching criteria like runtime caching. So in this case, you are having a URL pattern. Like say you will specify your API here, that this is the API which backend API I'm hitting, which I want to cache. Then you can specify your strategy like cache first, network first, stale while revalidate, or anything, and give the name of cache. It also supports a lot of out of the box features, like if you want to delete those entries after they exceed a certain amount of number like 100 or anything, you can put it there. So this is the generate service worker method, and the other one was injecting your manifest. In my experience, what we usually rely on, so this one is more handy if you know, if you are not well versed with the Workbox, or you don't want to get in that mess of service worker, you can go via generate service worker thing, and it will out of the box implement all of things for you, give a cache to you, and you can also, it also have a configuration for background sync and for IndexedDB, all are configuration in this. But if you want more control, then you can go via this method, where you can ask it not to generate the service worker, but to handle things on your own. So if we have appetite for more, I have with me the code that we used for background sync. So I'll just walk you through to the main background sync method, which we need to write in service worker. So you have to add a event listener or sync, where you can tag your event, and then you can wait until the API call is happening. So this would happen when you are back online. It would call this event, and whatever things you are getting, like we are saving the favorites here. So it is doing that, post and clearing the temporary favorites. In general, you can have any event listeners like install, active, fetch, and then this one is for sync, means background sync. You can in general practices, you can layer your code according to the, like I have for DB one file. Then for your API fetching logic, I have you can again separate out things here. You can separate out to give a single responsibility thing, and your application logic, main rendering logic is again in the index HTML and in script. So yeah, this is it from session. I think, yeah, this was the content that I had for you folks. Now, if you have any questions, wow, I think I omitted that. So this is the one where we can think futuristic. So this is for the periodic background sync. It is for like alarms, or you can also think upon the hourly sync that happens in your mobile, or a backup that is being taken. That is for the periodic background sync. Then for the background fetch, this is the one where you, it's quite opposite to background sync. This is the one where you need to get something from database and not saving to the server. So here, when you are downloading some data like a movie or a series, you can rely on the background fetch. This is pretty much used across the browsers, but all browsers have their own implementation. Then we have push notification API built on top of PWA. I was hoping to cover this one as well, but for 101, it would be too advanced. Maybe in some advanced session, we can cover the push notification as well. It would require the knowledge of FCM and how Firebase messaging works. So maybe we can have a session accordingly. And finally, this is pretty much new in market, the payment handler API. So instead of having your debit or credit cards registered inside the website, you have them with the browser. So the browser will ensure the security that yes, like you have your Gmail account, it will ensure that yes, your credit card is also linked. And whenever you make a purchase, it will prompt you, like a passcode will come there, or you can get it on your mobile and validate that. And then the payment will actually deduct the amount, whatever is happening. So yeah, this topic is actually the W3C consortium is actually working on this feature to release as soon as possible. I think the WhatsApp that has recently released the feature, in the end, the implementation has to be something like this. It has to leverage these properties. So yeah, guys, this was it. If you have anything or any questions, any feedback, please feel free.
Hi Ankit, Akash this side.
Yes.
Can we build PWA applications using Angular 6?
I don't have idea about the versions of Angular, but in general with Angular it's compatible. So I showed the flavors for React and for Next. There can be a similar one for the Angular as well. If I actually don't have that much expertise on new Angular versions, I've worked on only Angular 1. So if you have any configuration part, like in Next we have next.config.js, and in React we have webpack config. In any configuration, you can integrate this plugin, Workbox Webpack plugin. Then it would work out of the box, the PWA.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes. Any more questions or any thoughts that you have?
Actually, I've joined in middle of session, and the demo which you have shown the code initially. What was that framework?
What was the
What was
framework?
that framework you have used?
So the initial all demos were in plain JavaScript. So
Okay.
these are means you can imagine there is nothing fancy. Plain event handlers and event.
Okay.
So this was to get stick to the basics so that we get the service worker from the core rather than relying on the fancy frameworks.
Okay. Sure.
We have a question in the chat.
Yes. So I'm a Flutter developer. How can I learn PWA? Wow, great. I have also learned Flutter for the last year. Yes, you can go ahead and start with a web part first. So PWA is actually built on top of web, how JavaScript works. If you have a fair understanding of JavaScript, so in case Flutter, you have Dart. So Dart and JavaScript have, you can say 40 to 50% of similarity. You can start with the JavaScript and then the PWA part will come. And you can check upon the Google announcements if they are having directly a Flutter integrated with PWA. I haven't checked that yet. So yeah, the answer is start with JavaScript. Okay. Any more questions, or how you can also tell your feedback or any quick understanding that you want to have? Yes. No.
Thank you, Ankit. It was a really valuable session for all of us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. And Lilima can tell you where we are putting this recording, I think, on YouTube or on our ThoughtWorks channel. So you can.
Yeah, we have a YouTube ThoughtWorks channel. We'll put it there.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, folks. So you can stay tuned to the meetup and